So I have so many questions, but okay, let's talk about like physician growth, since that's like our core topic. So when we were at Optum, there was a physician executive training program where they internally kind of trained folks and taught them all the stuff you're talking about, HEDIS, STARS, risk delegation, all of that. So do you guys have something similar at Cigna? Did you go through anything like that yourself?
I did, but by the time I did, I was already in this role. So, I think the question you wanted to ask before, I think, was, how did I learn all of this information as I went? And I think I learned it in the beginning, and I think this is probably the most important part of getting to this kind of growth, is because I was just really curious about these things, and I wanted to learn about it. So when I first got introduced to HEDIS and STARS, just went to do some research on it. I read about it. I started asking my boss about it. I started asking about how is this getting measured, who's measuring it. And I really learned a lot about, just from like asking questions. And very quickly, I found that my boss didn't actually want to do that much with HEDIS and STARS. So she gave me this position of being the HEDIS lead. And I was like, okay. And the main thing I knew was I knew a little bit more than the other doctors in terms of what it involved. But then I learned more. And then as I started kind of getting into other meetings with some of this, because I had now a little bit of time carved out for admin stuff, and I was able to get into other meetings. And the first couple of meetings, I think, were like a provider group, was an internal meeting, but they were talking about all these metrics. And I had no idea what it was. I was like, I vaguely knew ADK and ERK, but I really was kind of like, what is all of this stuff? And same thing, I started just reaching out to people at the meeting. The person who was running the meeting was like, I don't want to be an ageist, but he was like a 25-year-old, 25-year-old guy who like had a finance degree, right? So I was like, what are all of these things you're talking about? And I just set up time with him to be like, I want to learn about what you're doing. I want to learn about what this is. And, people like to talk about their work, hence I'm here, right? So he sat down with me, he explained it to me. I had more questions. I did a little bit more research. And then I would just basically ask different people to kind of sit down and have these informational sessions with me. And it also worked as a way to sort of network within the administrative part of the business. So I was now away from the clinical side, and these people really didn't know anything about the clinical side. Like fundamentally, that's not their job. So then I sort of became a resource for them from the point of view that if they had a clinical question, they knew me and they've connected with me. And I was very open and kind of being like, I don't know what this is. Can you explain it to me? Like, I'm a doctor. I don't know what these numbers mean. And so over the years, I became very proficient and very comfortable in that language. And by the time the job as a market medical executive came up, I already knew everyone who was interviewing me. I knew, and they all knew me, and they knew who I was. And that really made a big difference, because on paper, a lot of I interviewed for a couple of positions like that throughout the company that weren't with the people I've met.